Hi, my name is Megan, and I will be doing my presentation on fetal alcohol syndrome, and I will be presenting to you using a slideshow and sharing my screen. So what is fetal alcohol syndrome? Fetal alcohol syndrome is actually a really hard diagnosis because there can be a lot of different factors to it. According to the CDC, fetal alcohol syndrome is a group of conditions that occur in a person whose mother drank alcohol during pregnancy. Some of these conditions include physical, behavioral, and learning problems. Alcohol in the mother's blood passes through the baby through its umbilical cord. Some signs and symptoms that a person with FASD may include low body weight, poor coordination, hyperactive behavior, difficulty with attention, poor memory, language disabilities, speech and language delays, intellectual disability or low IQ, sleep and sucking problems as a baby, vision or hearing problems, problems with the heart, kidney, or bones, vision or hearing problems, a small size head, shorter than average height, abnormal facial features such as smooth ridge between the nose and the upper lip. And this ridge is called the piliform. So here's an example of what some of the facial features with a child with FASD may look like. As you can see, the flat midface, the shorter nose, the thin upper lip, and there can be some ear abnormalities as well, and the low nasal bridge. So there are some ways to implicate in the classroom for students with fetal alcohol syndrome. Like I said, this can be a hard diagnosis just because there are a lot that comes with it. And sometimes this does actually go undiagnosed. So students with fetal alcohol syndrome may need implications to be accessible in the classroom. Students with FASD may have hearing or vision problems. Students should have preferential seating to the front of the class so they can see and hear the teacher. Students with FASD may be distracted easily. Taking tests outside of the classroom will help limit distractions. Assistive technology or extra support in the classroom may be helpful for a student with FASD. Small groups can help a child be more successful. And the reason why small groups can be more successful because they're getting that more one-on-one attention and they might be able to see or hear their peers more easily. Students with FASD may have trouble socially interacting with their peers due to behavioral issues. Teaching students how to express themselves and ways to communicate frustrations will help all students be more successful. So this can be as simple as role playing to the entire class, not just teaching a student that has FASD behavioral management, just a class-wide management in general could be helpful in teaching kids how to communicate with each other. Some teaching strategies for students with FASD: incorporating small groups whenever possible. Students with FASD may lack attention and need support with learning. So having small groups can help give them more isolated attention. Incorporate behavior management into lesson plans for all students. Again, this will help students with FASD to communicate and form relationships with their peers. Using visual cues to help support learning. This can include slideshows along with your teaching, with pictures, material objects to help students that may have learning disabilities due to FASD. Design instructional materials and activities so the student has frequent opportunities to respond in form of guidance and independent practice. Conduct direct and frequent measurements of a student's performance and use that data to inform instructional decisions. So some ways a way this may look good in the classroom is if you're including your kids in your presentations or your instructions. So allowing them to offer feedback, allow them to help guide learning, asking them their interests, connecting with home, and forming relationships with students. Some modifications for students with FASD: assistive technology, such as a recorder to repeat spoken words from the teacher, or a highlighter that reads written words, can support students that have hearing impairments due to FASD. And again, seating towards the front of the classroom to support students that have visual or hearing impairments, using a visual schedule with pictures that's easy for students to see. And it can also help them anticipate what's coming next. So sometimes if you have your schedule at the front of the room and you include pictures and allowing students to know, oh, well, first we have math, and then after math, then we have gym, that can help their days be more successful. And accommodations for students with FASD. This could include a 504 plan or an IEP plan to help support learning in the classroom, a speech and language pathologist or teacher to help support students that have language delays due to FASD, or OT to help address poor motor skills that students may have due to FASD. So I will be sharing a video with you, and in this video, it will include what it looks like for a student with FASD in the classroom. And I would like you to respond to the 3 questions that I have at the end. So I'm going to share my screen again and show the video.
This is the checkers game where grandson and granddad will bond. Researchers say most children who were exposed to alcohol in the womb are not diagnosed.
UF 530 Action News Jax investigator Paige Kelton explains that can cause big problems. Yeah, children with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder have trouble regulating their behavior, following instructions, and find it difficult to understand social cues. Diagnosing the plate can make a big difference. Nico Moon is an outdoorsy 12-year-old who dreams big.
I kind of want to be one of the smallest NBA players ever.
He loves his dog and, like most tweens, has occasional spats with his sister. But what stands out most about him is that Nico is incredibly mindful.
I need to remember that I'm working on stopping myself.
You want to give me a hat? Stopping himself from an outburst of frustration. Nico and his mom have learned to be patient with one another, like when various house rules and chores are forgotten.
That's part of an FASD. And so we don't get angry about that. We don't fuss about that. We say that's your brain. So let's correct it now and move on.
Before adopting Nico in Russia, his new parents were warned by doctors.
But I didn't care because I was already in love. I don't tell people that Nico was adopted when we say that he has fetal alcohol syndrome, because it doesn't matter. What matters is he has a tremendous amount of potential if we can get the right resources for him.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
The search for the best possible treatment led the Moon family to Dr. Yasmin Centurious.
And we need to be identifying this disorder more.
That's exactly what researchers are working on at UNC's Nutrition Research Institute. In her research, Cecilia Kwan found that a mother's alcohol use reduces the placenta's ability to deliver nutrients to the baby.
So in other words, the baby is basically starving.
One study was published last year in the prestigious Journal of the American Medical Association. Researchers collected data on 6,639 first graders across the U.S. Of 222 children diagnosed with FASD in the study, only 2 had been previously diagnosed. Dr. Centuria says that's because some mothers don't tell doctors they drank, and some medical professionals hesitate to discuss it.
There is a fear that you will make a mother guilty, that you will make anybody guilty for anything that they've already done that they can't undo.
Let's call it what it is and address it.
Leah Moon believes kids with FASD are often misunderstood, accused by adults in their life of behaving badly instead of finding treatment.
Daddy and you are amazing.
Given Nico's success, they both hope to empower other families. Paige Kelton, CBS 47 Action News Jax.
All right. So now we're going to go back to our slideshow and answer some questions.
I tell my story to a lot of different groups.
Okay, so after watching that video, I have these 3 questions that I would like you to answer in the text box or as a reply. Fetal alcohol syndrome often goes undiagnosed. What are some indicators Nicholas showed that tells you he may have FASD? If if Nicholas was in your classroom, what could you implement to help support him? Nicholas is living with a lifelong disorder that is currently untreatable. What are ways to support Nicholas social emotionally as well? So that is all for my presentation on fetal alcohol syndrome. And I just want to indicate again that this can be often undiagnosed just because it is common, just like in the video said, that some mothers may not know that they were drinking while they were pregnant, or they might have not known they were pregnant at the time. And it is important to bring awareness to help support all students. Thank you for your time.